Okay. Hi, I'm Zach. I'm with you want to tell me who you are?
Oh, I'm Keshawn. Yeah, we're here.
This is the worst thing I've never done this stuff in my entire life, so I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm just winging it here. Um,
It's the exclusive unreleased joints.
this is the underground talk. So, you want? I guess we could start off. So how's your writing and stuff coming along with everything?
that's a good question. I have to most of the time write for class than anything. It's let me think. I'm taking an advanced fiction writing class right now,
Mm-hmm.
and with that class, it's mostly trying to get us to write like query letters and everything, and to get our stories better in terms of that. But I'm only mostly in there just to like get my editing skills better. But I think that's where I'm at right now, just kind of making sure that my writing is up to par for when I actually do make a book.
Yeah, honestly, I can relate to that. I'm not taking English classes. I'm doing the suicidal fun thing of business management and law, so I can't relate to the whole writing class. But like, I get what you mean because like when you're writing, you want to make sure everything is like flowing right because you don't want it to be like just some. I'm gonna just say like this some hot piece of garbage dumpster fire as you're writing.
Oh, facts, facts.
It's like you want it to look good and for me, like I think I spend five rewrites before I file. I'm like, oh, this one looks good. Because
Yeah, rewriting is always a good vibe in the first place. 'Cause I used to not like rewriting and editing, but I think the more I've done it, the more I've kind of just gotten used to the entire process of just having something and it's being like okay, and then it can become a lot better over time with the edits and everything you could like try that's new. And I don't know, it's definitely a different experience.
yeah, so like when I first started rewriting, I'll spread some stuff with you because I talked to you about my book. When I first started writing my book, I was in high school. I was a senior in high school, and this is where the transition changed. Where I'm just like, how the hell did I go from here to there? So I first started off with the main villain being the son of Cthulhu. Hear me out. That was the first draft. That was the first draft. And so now, like, I'm on like I got one more year left of college now, but I've rewritten it so many times now to where I've discarded that ideology of that Cthulhu thing. Like I've tossed that out after like I think rewrite four, and I've now made it more of a relatable thing because I want people to kind of relate to a fictional character. Because like as I've reread books, and I will use this reference until the day I'm dead. Percy Jackson books are a good representation of what's helped me, like how I want to make my books, because like a lot of those books can be relatable to a reader.
Yeah, yeah. It's like especially with his like the first person perspective of the Percy Jackson books,
Mm-hmm.
you kind of can get into the head of like a 12-year-old going like becoming 16 by the end of the series, and just really just seeing his like mental state of dealing with all the gods and all the demigod things that they have to deal with.
And he's such a sass.
Facts, facts. Too, he's hilarious for no
I was
reason.
I was rereading those books actually. I've been rereading them for inspiration, and I was finishing up Son of Poseidon, and I swear every person in the Roman area looked at him like, did he just sass a god? Percy, you can't do this. Like I don't give a fuck.
He's never cared. That's what's cool about him.
Dude, he has no filter, and he is a skater boy.
Like when he went against Ares in the first book, that was like a crazy thing, and it was just like he does that on a daily basis.
He's like, this is a reg. But yeah, it's like those books itself kind of gave me that idea. I want a character to be relatable. 'Cause I don't want like someone to read this book that when you're reading about a protagonist, you're just like, oh, okay, he's this really super strong person, okay, what's so good about him? I kind of want this character to have development. And I read something recently, and it stuck with me. It said, try to kill off your main character, and if you can see that your main character can die, and it still go on, like even if the protagonist is dead, then you still have a good story. You don't have to kill
Yeah,
them, but if you apply that ideology that if your protagonist is dead, something can still happen.
yeah, because that's what something that I think Game of Thrones is really strong at. They'll have a character that's considered the main character, and then you'll see that they could get killed or die or whatever, and someone else can fill that same role or same spot, and it'll just continue based off of that. Like you have to have really strong and interesting characters for something like that to actually make sense, but most of the
Mm-hmm.
time, if you have a great writer, it'll probably work out.
See, I've never read the Game of Thrones series, but I've heard a lot of I've heard,
Yeah, I just watched the TV show.
I haven't watched it or read it. I've heard praises and I've heard negative things about it. I think the negative parts I heard were just how the last season was just.
Yeah, the last season I've heard is pretty bad. I'm only on like the fifth season.
I think I take back what I said. I think I watched like one episode. All I recall from it was everyone was having sex, everyone was naked, and I was like, I really hope to God none of my parents do not come by and visit me and see me watch it because they're gonna ask, "Are you watching something like this? Is a show? I promise."
Yeah, they're definitely on some very wild things in there, like sex, murder. I think there's a lot of incest in there. Just a lot of random stuff.
Oh gosh.
Like literally in the first episode, you see some incest, and it's just like, yo.
Like I remember seeing the little kid like fall out, and break his legs. I'm just like, he saw some stuff he should have seen.
Yep. That was a crazy talk in general,
And then
honestly.
like, after that, I stopped. I just watched the one. I've heard though, like overall, it's a good story, and I've heard the writing is really good.
Yeah, George R. R. Martin. I've heard that he's a very meticulous writer. Like he'll spend like years just working on one book and really just kind of digging into the whole world of I think Westeros. That's why I think he doesn't have a new book. Like the last time he dropped a book was I think like 10 years ago or something like that.
I mean, are we
Like
kind of like that right now because we're still in the process of writing ours?
yeah, I'm thinking I can get something out probably like this year or next year, honestly. But it'll probably be a shorter project than anything.
I think what I'm going to do because I've been working on it is I think I'm working on right now is a poetry book because I don't want to release this novel series I'm writing yet just due to the fact of there's a lot I need to cover in the first book and I want to make sure everything
Yeah,
got like my got my because I've got a person I've hired now well I got to work with her on it she's phenomenal she showed me a little bit of her art of digital art and it's fantastic so I have her being my my digital book cover artist. She's fantastic, and I'm gonna commission her to finish my design whenever we get around to that. And I've got a really good friend of mine now named Christian. He's my character design artist. If you've seen like you've seen on my social media, I've shared like
yeah,
those pictures. That's my character design artist now. Dude's got fantastic artistic ability. So like I'll discuss like characters with him, and he can like draw certain things. So I love seeing like what he can do. But I think I'm gonna just start with a poetry book first, release it, and within
yeah. Poetry is definitely like I guess we're talking about writing. Then it's a very different type of writing. With poetry, I've done so many different types of poems and expressed different things in different ways. And with a poetry book, I feel like you have it's going to be all of your own work and all of your own feelings and thoughts laid to paper. And I think there's something very important with that because if somebody reads it and they're like, yeah, this is this so and so's poems, and they relate to it or they feel some something what would be profound from your poems, it kind of has this therapeutic type of sensation too when they read it.
Oh no, I completely agree. I've been reading. I bought this recent poetry book. I was at Barnes and Noble doing some studying and research, and I found this poetry book. It's called Pillow Thoughts.
Okay.
And I'm not gonna lie, it's all about like the first one's all about like growth, heartbreak, and dealing and accepting who you are. And the poems can really stick to you because I read some, and I think I almost cried at like two or three of them because like they really hit close to home with stuff I was facing, and I was very I don't know, I was very connected to that, and I loved it because that's the thing I love about poetry is the fact of when you're reading it or writing it, you can express certain emotions. It's hard to display in public. So when someone can read that and relate to it and find like closure in it, it's such a fantastic feeling. Like poetry is like so much different compared to when you do writing, because in writing, you can maybe relate to the character. You might be interested in the story, might be
Yeah.
interested in the next thing. But like with poetry, you're reading this emotional or this comedic or this therapeutic, this spiritual thing, whatever you're feeling. You can read it and you can apply what that is because you can relate to it and extend. Like I'm having a similar situation. This writing of it expresses how I've been feeling. It's just hard for me to describe it, and they can kind of like have that closure.
Yeah. Cause like I definitely understand that. It's like with poetry, you're having. I think the variety of poetry is what makes it such a profound thing even now. Like you can have spoken word poetry, you can have like very lyrical and melodic poetry. Even like the origins of like rap music is founded in poetry in the first place. And I think there, I don't know. I feel like if people were to like appreciate poetry more and really just kind of accept like the thoughts and feelings of others more, it'd probably be a way bigger thing even right now.
Oh, I completely agree. Like I see a lot of people. I'm not throwing shade at anyone. I'm not. But I'll see people talk about like, oh, they're so profound and stuff. And I ask, well, what do you read? And I'm like, oh, why you like? I read like Cosmo, or I like read this thing on the internet. And I'm like, no, that's not really profound stuff. Because I'm like, if you actually take the time to, like, if you take the time to just like read this scripture, read this like passage, dude, it'll do something to you that you never experienced before. Because I know when I first started reading poetry, I was a novice, and I'm still a novice because with poetry it's always changing.
Yeah,
It's like the perfect poet. Like you can spend years learning poetry, but you're not going to be the perfect because you're not going to always speak out to everyone. But from what I've read of poetry, it's helped me define things and helped me have this passion of writing. Like, don't get me wrong, I always had ideas as a kid of like stories in my head, and I would like play them out in my head. But as I read poetry, I was like, well, why don't I just actually write this stuff out? Like, don't just think it, put it on paper or computerize it. Like, type it up in a document. Don't If you don't want to write it, you can type it up and write you a story, and it might end up in a book or a short story, however you feel. And that's why I love poetry, because it led me into writing, into wanting to be an author and a novelist.
yeah, yeah. Poetry. I feel like I got into poetry like way later than a lot of people because I think I got into poetry like my 10th grade of high school, and
Yeah.
like my teacher, she read this poem I made. It was about this zombie dog, and she was like, "Wow, this is really cool." And I was like, "You liked my zombie dog poem?" And then she was like, "Yeah," and I got an A off that poem. And then from there, I just kind of used what I knew about poetry to transfer it into what I knew about music, and it kind of was this merging. What would be a merging crock pot of useful information, useful tools that you can use at your disposal.
Yeah, no, I get that. Actually, a funny story about that. That's exactly about the time I got into poetry too. I was taking an English class in high school, and it was about as my sophomore year, and I was taking an English class, and we had to do this paper as like a journal paper. You had to write all these certain script English literature styles, and one of them was poetry. And I wasn't really into poetry then, so I looked some stuff up and I found some stuff I liked. And as a basic person I am, I did use Robert Frost as one of the poems, but um, I wrote my own. It was about being alone and
Yeah,
sometimes it's okay to be alone and that darkness, that negative thoughts are going to consume you, but at the end of the day, this light is going to be there to help guide you even in your darkest hours. I wrote that, and my English teacher's assistant, she pulled me to the side. I was like, this is really good. I was like, you like that? I was like, yeah. Did you? How long? I was like, I just thought of it on the whim because it's something I've been feeling lately, and since then I fell in love with poetry and writing because I was able to use it as a self of expression. And just like you, after I did poetry, I started to fall in love with music because I used to make music a lot too. I would do beats, which would help me express my emotions in musical steps. But I think over the years, I faded from the music era and I moved more into the writing style because I just felt like I could do more in the writing than I could the musical because I have no music. I have not a lot of musical talent. I sing like a beach whale, let's be real. But I can write and I can tell you stories. It's so hard to display it in music, and I tried to for I think a few years, try to really get into a the music business, and I really tried to push myself, but it was mostly like most of the things I saw out there was just rap. All it was rap, and it's so hard when you're trying to be a new artist and you don't do rap. No one's gonna really listen to you. So I kind of gave up on the whole music era and went into writing.
yeah, yeah. I definitely understand that. Like I think with music, the idea of having just so many different genres and different types of music at this point is what's really different than I guess even the 80s and 90s or early 2000s. We have even with rap, all these different subgenres in rap, or even R&B. There's so many different like subgenres inside of that. And I think now I feel like I probably have a lane for music more so than I would have if I was born in a completely different time, where it's like, oh, this is the type of music everybody wants to hear. This is the type of music that everybody wants to hear. It's kind of uh, it's a new time for just everybody to kind of just be creative and explore different avenues. I feel like,
I agree. Um, I do agree with that. There's so much different like genres today. I actually had someone tell me the other day. I saw they were telling me like, man, I love listening to old rock, and I was like, really? And this is where I knew genre had changed so much. They told me old rock to them was like Blink 182 and stuff. I'm like, that is not old rock. But music has changed, and I love everybody for expressing in different styles. But like, I think today it's even more hard to get into the competitive business of music, just because that genre is getting so many new artists every day, and it's so hard to get into that competitive field because so many people are going to go into it.
yeah, like there's a lot of people that are, especially with music, like everybody want if I were to go around my campus right now and just ask people around the I'd be like, yeah, I want to make rap music, or I want to make this very specific thing. And it's like you kind of have to also battle between are people actually passionate about whatever it is that they're doing, or do they just want monetary gain with whatever they're doing? And you could want both, but it's like some people it's just kind of a very clear cut thing for either side of the coin.
Oh, no, I completely agree with that. Yeah, because some people really are only doing this to make money, and I get it. You want to make an income to be stable. I get that, but like when it comes to something like this, like especially music and writing, you want it to be not really more about the monetary value. It's great to have that monetary value, and I respect the hustle, but to me, writing and music should be something that you are wanting to tell a story, because you can tell a story through music, and you can for sure tell a story through writing. And when you're doing this, you want to express something where people can interpret what you're doing.
Yeah.
I remember this is where I'm gonna get a little nerdy here. I think some of the biggest inspirations for me was, dude, I'd be reading anime and manga. Like I think I read um, I think the first thing that got me really into it was have you ever heard of the show Hitman Reborn?
You talking about the one with like Suna and
Yeah,
everything?
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh god. Hey, hold on one second. Hey man, what's up? I'm actually in a call right now, so can I call you back in a little bit? One of my friends was calling me. Yeah, no, it's the anime about yeah, it's Suna and all them. Yeah, I
Yeah.
I watched that because I was bored one actually. Yeah, I was bored one day and I was looking up some stuff, and I think I was playing a game called J Stars Victory Versus, and I really liked the character. I was like, well, who's this from? So I googled it up, and it was like Hitman Reborn. I'm like, ooh, that's interesting. And as I watched the show, I was like, okay, well, this is comedic at first. Like it started off comedic, but I got a premise of what it was. This kid is being told he's going to be the next mafia leader. He's the number one leader of the next mafia family. And I thought that was so interesting story. And as I watched it, I loved the way the characters were written, and I got it was comedic, and it changed in a full-on shonen, like 2/3 of the way, and I'm like, oh, okay, we're doing a story change here, okay, but I love the way the characters were, and the story, and the plot, and development was. I found it very interesting, and it kind of inspired me to want to write my own story. And I always had a fascination with Yakuza, Mafia, and gangs, which kind of has
Yeah.
into what I'm writing now. Because, I don't know, man, it's like stuff like that is really interesting. Is there like stuff that like inspired you to like kind of like what you're wanting to write now?
That's a good question. With the stories I'm writing right now, this since it's a fantasy horror type of thing, it's kind of um I got inspiration from stuff like Hunter x Hunter,
Yeah,
the Fate series in a lot of ways. With the horror elements, I kind of looked at things like Junji Ito's many weird short stories that he'll make with like Uzumaki about the spirals and everything.
yeah,
Um, and in a lot of ways, I kind of looked at all these different things that I was kind of getting inspired from, and then I would learn from them and be like, oh, if this is what they're doing here and it might have like failed, why did it fail? And like, what can I do to make sure that it would be a success if I did it? And it's kind of, I think it's interesting to kind of look at what other stories have done, even the bad stories, and really just kind of grow from what they've done wrong.
yeah. There's like a lot of stories that I'm reading now that I will admit the writing is so beautifully done. I know I want to bring this one because I know you tell me about this one and you will love it. Attack on Titan's got a really good story.
Oh yeah, Attack on Titan's amazing.
You wanna elaborate on how good that one is, buddy? You've read that more than I.
This all like elaborate on just like how good it is or
Just
something.
like just in general, man. Like, how do you feel about the writing and storytelling?
Oh, that's that okay. So with Attack on Titan, it's I feel like what's interesting about it is the fact that episode one in general doesn't really show you what the story is about, because you really don't even, you have like a, I guess, like prologue to the entire thing, which is the whole Titans pulling up into their to the walls, and Aaron vowing to take out all the Titans. But I think the real story doesn't even begin until the episode like three, when you find out that Aaron and a lot of other people can like become Titans. And I guess the dynamic between like Aaron being viewed as this like hero to a lot of people in Paradise Island, the people within the walls and everything, they they're viewing him as someone that's a weapon or someone that can help them, rather than looking at what this person needs as a person. And eventually that's like, it begins to like break this character, this person, as he finds out like the truth and uh various secrets of this entire world and everything. And that we get to like stuff that's happening in season four, where instead of the people that like need something from Aaron are doing these different things, Aaron has decided that he's going to have to make a decision for the sake of his self and the people that he wants to protect himself. And we've got so many different characters that have their own like motivations and goals. Like you got Erwin, who's uh, this really stoic and crazy general who will kind of give these people like all this propaganda to be like, yes, let's fight the Titans and everything, but only so that he can achieve his own goals, which is like seeing the basement, that Aaron's basement and Shigashina and everything. And it's like you have so many different people that want so many different things, and it's like no one's like technically good or evil, because they all have very like human traits. Um, and I think that's the best bet in terms of like storytelling. It's like creating human people, even if you don't like them, like as people, if they're relatable, you can see that that's something that someone that you would meet walking around would do. I feel like those are the best types of stories to tell. Even the elements of what's it called? I think most of the characters are based off of like German names and German lifestyles, in terms of like even season four, where you see a very clear similarity to the things that happened in like Nazi Germany and in our history, and seeing what people will do for the sake of freedom. I think that's the type of stories that like will stick around even after it ends next month. So
Yeah, I heard that finishes next month. Yeah, because this is the final chapter, right?
yeah, the last chapter comes out in like 2 or 3 weeks from now.
See, a lot of people, and I've talked to them a little bit about it. A lot of them were telling me, he was in the wrong. Like Aaron's wrong for what he does, and I'm kind of like, no, 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 it makes sense. Like, that's why I kind of like the series, and I think I might go and read it just to look back on it because as I'm looking at it, I'm like, the way he's doing things makes sense. It's not the most heroic thing most storytellers do, but it's a means of survival and safety. So I get the way the character is and what he's doing.
Yeah, I think the best heroes in general will always like kind of strive towards like what they consider to be good in the first place. You don't see characters always running into situations and being like, "That's not right," and just doing whatever it is to stop that. I think like the more human a person is, like even heroes. Like if I was looking at a firefighter or something like that, a firefighter is doing something that's like very heroic, like rushing into fires and saving people. But we don't really know what's going on in their personal life. They could be an abuser. They could be doing really anything, or they could be very good people but still have flaws. And I think seeing that in especially our main character in Aaron, it's like you see someone that is doing what they consider necessary, even if it's at the expense of other people. And You don't see that too often, even in like manga or even novels. A lot of the time.
No, no. I mean, he's doing it to a means to an end, but I do agree. Not like a lot of stories you'll read are like that, and I think that's what makes Aaron's character very unique. And I think a lot of people should read some manga. I think it's really good because, when a lot of people hear the words manga, they're like, oh my gosh, this is for kids. I'm like, no, it's really not. Because there's so much storytelling and so much lore and world building you can see in these. And they're so good.
Yeah,
But I think one of the biggest things, and this is just in all writing, between normal novels to anime and manga and shows in general, even in games, I hate how poorly written heroes can be, and the villain is so well developed. Because to me, as I read it or watch it or play it or anything, I've gone to the perspective. I'm like, I really wish they would have made this hero more defined because I side more with the villain, mainly because I kind of can get and understand why they are the way that they are. Because like when I read this hero, I'm like, well, what's your motivation? Why are you the way that you are? And they don't really go into that.
yeah,
I mean, there's like a few. Like I will admit, Aang from Avatar: The Last Airbender is an exception of a well-developed hero who actually was good because of the way he did things.
yeah. Heroes are very like I feel like I like villains more most of the time, but I feel like really amazing heroes and heroes that are like flawed and have these really interesting characteristics. I think those are the people that are gonna like be remembered more so than the very one note like trophy main characters most of the time.
You mean like
Like,
Goku and a bunch of other ones, even though Goku's not a hero. But I can use that one because that's like that's a good amount. Like I've seen a lot of people say, "Well, heroes aren't like Goku." I'm like, yeah, well, Goku's a stupid hero. Like I love my Dragon Ball, but even I will admit, Goku is an
see,
idiot.
I don't know with Goku. I feel like he's a very interesting character in a lot of ways too, because I think a
Yeah.
lot of people will like look at him in a very one note type of way, even though he's had a lot of different arcs, but it's not as like explicitly shown as a lot of other shonens, I would say.
Yeah, like I'm not going back on what I'm saying. Like I will say this much: I do like Goku and the Dragon Ball characters because they do have unique stories and backgrounds and stories. But I will admit Goku's not the best hero character, mainly due to the fact of this man is so he's not the brightest because he has caused more issues than solutions. Especially when I was reading the Moro arc, um, that was like there was just so much he was doing so good like near the end because he's like he's caused a lot of damage and as a patroller I need to protect him. He's like, all right, here's a sensu bean, let's fight again. I'm just like, you were right there and then you went down.
Yeah,
There's a lot of like series I love with how they write their characters, but I think I really hope we get to like as manga and anime and just light novels and storytelling is becoming more popular, more prevalent in this society now. We're going to see more developed heroes. I really want to see that. Like, don't undersell the villain. Keep having a really good storytelling villain. I love that, but I also want to. I would really love it to nowadays. I want to see just really well developed heroes too. Like I want to see both sides, the good side and the evil side in each character. Give them each, points of redemption. Give me parts where the villain actually does have redeemable quirks that makes him think, okay, he could be good, and do the same thing with the hero. Like, oh, hey, he's the hero, but he has points that can make him a villain. These are things that aren't you shouldn't always think about, but we get it because he's human. Not everyone's perfect. Everyone's going to have their flaws. So make it to where both sides of the coin can be displayed on each hero and villain is always a good thing, especially in your storytelling, in my opinion, at least. I don't know.
yeah. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Like having like multifaceted villains, heroes, side characters, really just like people. That's what I like. I think that's the main thing. Like having people in the story rather than just like characters that are just like everybody else. I think that's the best thing for a story.
It's just the yeah, the writing makes it really important. And good lord, what just happened? Oh, sorry. But yeah, no, I mean that's the thing. Um, I think one of the biggest, and I'm going back to referencing this now too. Um, what would you say is like a big, like maybe like a scene that like you're very proud of that you wrote like recently?
You said what would I say is a big scene?
What's like a real like maybe it's something you've already written in your book or story, or something you've been planning to write, like something lately that you've been like really excited to be writing about in your story.
Like you're talking about like in terms of like fiction and just
Yeah.
like so a big moment that um that's a good question. I haven't really been to like extremely excited about like an event that's happening other than like the ending of like Attack on Titan in a lot of ways. But I'm trying to think.
I put you on the spot there, didn't I?
Yeah, like this is just I don't know. 'Cause a lot of the stuff I read most of the time it's like there'll be some stuff I'm interested in, but then it's not really like the biggest like craziest thing ever that like the conclusions of whatever it is or I don't know.
So like I think for me, what I've been excited on, and this is just on what I've been writing, is so recently I've been working on these this is due to the second book, and I'm like I'm still working on the first, so bear that in mind. Is there's this big confrontational fight, and I'm really excited to get to that part because you're gonna see the time skip. It's gonna be about a 2 year time skip, and I'm so excited to have everyone see that time skip because through that time you're gonna see how not only did the protagonist's looks change, but his mentality changed and how he acts and handles situations differently. Ever since this tragic event that happens in the first book, which is what I've been working on recently, leading into it, the latest arc I'm doing, like the second book, which I'll be getting to eventually, I've been the most excited to explain this part in it just because I have so many ideas on how I want to do this certain act when I get there. I think that's the thing about writing with anything you do is you're always gonna have points where you're super excited about, and man, that's a great. That's I think that's one of the main fun things about writing is you get to be excited and passionate about what you love to do. But there's also the struggle with it, and you're gonna love this part because I'm gonna throw us both under the bus here. Don't you just love writer's block?
See, I used to have writer's block heavy, but then now what I'll do is like it's this weird thing that like I remember when writer's block was like this thing would just mess up my entire writing process. But then now more so what I'll do is I'll have an idea or some random thought like in class or something. I'll write it down and then from there I'll like branch out from stuff. And so I haven't really had like writer's block in a long time because like any random idea or like any random like piece of inspiration, I'll kind of just grow from that and then just write from that, and it'll usually work out from there because I'll just piece everything together eventually.
See, I have not even thought of it that way. I actually like that because I will admit I think a couple months back I had some really bad writer's block because I didn't know how I wanted to continue this next chapter, but I found what I wanted to do, and I've just been writing on it nonstop. But I think I'll start doing that. Is just if I'm ever in a slump, just if anything comes to my head, just write it down and branch out how I can get there to that. So that's actually a really good idea. I never thought of it that way. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's I don't know. I think the even the process of writing, like I'll start writing something and then I'll be like, yeah, this is I like this, and then I feel like when other people look at it, people will like stuff and be very interested in the story that I've written. But it's like when I'll hop into like writing, I guess what's the word? Writing circles, and I'll see that there's like things I could work on and different things that I could grow from, and even myself, I'm like I judge my own writing pretty heavy. So it's like if I see that my story could be better, then I'm doing whatever I can to make sure that it's like up to the par that in my head that I'm reaching towards.
Yeah, yeah. Like you wanna. I get that. Yeah, I like that. That's a really good idea too. Um, I think what I'm just. Oh my god! I had something. My brain just died. I hate that. I was wanting to say something really profound to the person who's like listening to this. I already have 41 minutes and 19 seconds, and plus you're brave enough to last it this long. But you're supposed to like, oh, he's gonna say something profound. Nope, he just stumbled. Great job.
It's definitely like that for real. For real.
Oh man, it's just I love it. Sometimes I do know when I'm in a sometimes, and this is just for me, when I'm in a slump, especially if I'm like stuck on how I want to write something. Um, at least to me, this has helped me, especially in what I'm writing. I started playing the Yakuza series, and that's surprisingly given me a few ideas of certain things I kind of want to relate to on my book.
Yeah,
Because I'll just be like, oh, okay. I mean, I'm not going to involve a giant chicken in real estate or have to help a man covered in bubbles get clothes to visit his grandma in the hospital. But there's certain elements of characters and the way they're developed I like and apply that to my writing. Oh, man. This has been fun. Do you have anything else you'd like to cover?
I really don't know because we've gone through a lot of the writing, the writing, the I guess like anime and manga and writing with that as well.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, I got one.
okay.
This is a good one to discuss for anyone who is curious about writing or wants to know about it. I think some of the hardest thing is even after you have written your first book or first set of your novel or short story or poetry set, whatever it is you're writing, it is sometimes some of the hardest part is getting that thing published or a place to get it published and sold.
Yeah. Um, like with me, I haven't really um wanted to try like what's the word like I'm not the biggest fan of like traditional publishing in the first place, and so it kind of uh for me more so trying to make sure that the product that I can create is marketable to not a like company who will probably just pick up the book and be like, wow, this will make me, this company a certain amount of money. We can market it our certain type of way, and you get like a percentage of whatever the uh, book is being sold for. I feel like instead, you like at least for me, I feel like I'd rather be publishing it through my own type of means, which would be like creating it and making everything involving it, like even the cover itself, hiring an artist, all kind of different things. And from there, I want to be marketing not to a company, which would be like with the query letters and traditional publishing, but I'd be marketing more so towards readers and the people that actually would want to buy like merchandise or buy different types of books, like a hardcover version of something or a leather bound of something. But it's the readers that I want to be marketing towards rather than these companies, because they'll do what's best for them rather than what's best for the author in a lot of ways.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. One I have heard research of that's good is Amazon's really good at doing that, is what I've heard. There's Amazon. I think there's like one or two more I've heard of that's really good with that. But I myself, I agree. I don't want to just send this to a company like, oh, this makes us money. No, I want people to, because I don't want it to be like one that's like, oh, this is a popular book, you read it. I want someone to just read it out of the blue, like find this book, like, oh my gosh, this is great. I want to find them more of it, and you find out this author is brand new, and then they can share it to their friends, and their friends share it to them, and then everyone, you hear about it through word of mouth, which later learns into them coming to you, want to buy the book, and that way, you're being noticed in your own way.
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard Amazon's decent about it, especially since they just put in their they put in their Amazon store, and you can buy the ebook version of it. You can buy a PDF version, or I think you can buy like a digital version of it too.
Yeah, you can get a physical and a digital. It just depends on how you want to do your whole publishing route. Because I know people that have got their books published through like Barnes and Nobles and all kind of other stuff. But it's more so with that type of publishing. It's going to be more so based off of like you as the creator, doing a lot of the different things that a traditional publisher would do for you, which is going to be a lot harder in a lot of ways, but it's just going to depend on like how much you want it yourself, how much you want to retain a lot of the creativity that would come along with your own book.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. That's why, like, I think it's that's why I think it's hard to get in anywhere. I mean, I think it's great, when you're ready to publish, go for it. But I think once you finish your book writing, this is going to take time, and it's good to take time. Narrow down your search of how you want to publish, and make sure everything you've written is good, it's clear, concise. I always think to send it to like a target test market. Like I would probably I would send it to friends and family, have them read it, see what they think of it, and kind of improve the book. And then once I know it's good, then start going through that whole process of distributing it, marketing it, having other people purchase and read it, and so forth. I mean, you don't want it to be good in your head, and then you realize a lot of it's unlegible or unreadable, and then
Your best bet with if you did something like that, you probably need to hire some like line editors, and then also you probably need to have something like an entire maybe proofreading type of group to just read your story and tell you what's good about the story itself and like what can be worked on in terms of the story, while you're also getting stuff edits about like where your commas are at and your semicolons, like whatever's going on with the actual like logistics of the writing as well.
Oh, I completely agree. And that's why, like, when I get to that point, I'll get to that point. Right now, I'm still in the process of writing and storytelling, so I don't see the point in me contacting that person to marketing. And once I've written everything the way I'm wanting it to, I think once I've finished all that up, that's when I'm going to start going into that transition of looking for people to read it, to critique it, tell people what they think about it, how to improve it, and so forth. It's a daily struggle, but like it's so rewarding. I think
Yeah.
it's rewarding to read and write, and I don't think I hate when people say they can't do it. I'm like, no, anyone can do it. Go out and try it. If this is something you see yourself wanting to really do, go out and write you a book. Go write you a short story. Write something that defines you or what you're wanting to talk about, I guarantee you someone out there is going to want to read it and they're going to love it. Because, I mean, I know we compare our stuff every so often with each other, and I've enjoyed reading what you've shared with me, and I always, it's such good storytelling, too. So, I mean, there's a lot to it in reading and writing, and if you put the time and effort into it, at least in my eyes, it will pay off for you if you work at it and you stay hungry at it.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that.
Yeah. Well, I think we have covered everything, dude. We've been at this for 50 minutes.
You said for how long?
50 minutes.
Oh wow.
All right. This was the first one. I'm probably 99.9% sure I want to do another one with Keshawn again, as long as he's down to do another one.
Yeah, most definitely.
All right. Thank you guys for listening. All right.